From Chicago, welcome to 3Degrees Discussions. I'm your host, Mike Vasquez. This is a podcast devoted to the stories behind the innovators, entrepreneurs, and leaders in the 3D printing industry.
Definitely, we had some projects that we have been running or we are running at the moment where we are testing new materials because the customer need very, very specific properties in the material, something we don't have in our standard portfolio. So we qualify materials and sort of, yes, we are as you said, let's call it a service bureau, but we really want to be flexible and really be able to work according to the requirements of our customer.
That was Dr. Enrico Gallino. Enrico is an additive manufacturing material specialist at Ricoh UK. He has a background in material science and polymers with experience in R&D, product development, and technical support across different sectors, including academia, energy, cosmetics, steel, and additive manufacturing. He joined the show today to talk about his career and the variety of printer modalities and materials that he's working on at Ricoh. Before we get started, head over to www.3degreescompany.com and subscribe to the podcast. Remember, you can listen to the show anywhere you download your podcasts, including Spotify, Apple, Amazon, or Stitcher. Enrico, thank you for joining the show today. I'm excited for this conversation. We met a few years ago digitally and hopefully in person one of the days soon. So for like we do with all of the podcasts we've done of late, let's start at the very beginning. Kind of where are you from? Kind of how did you get on the track to 3D printing and engineering?
Yeah, so thank you, Mike, first for having me on your podcast. So I'm originally from Italy, and I left Italy probably about 15 years ago when I was doing my master degree in material science. Then I moved to France, spent around 10 years in France working on my PhD first. That was more still about in polymers. Then I worked in a few different industry, energy, then in the cosmetic industry, and then I moved in the UK about 7 years ago. Firstly working in the steel industry, developing coating. And then after nearly 2.5 years working in the industry, I sort of had the feeling that my career needed a move, and ended up in this job at Ricoh in the fantastic world of additive manufacturing that for me was completely new. So I've joined Ricoh now 4 years ago. Initially as a material engineer, and then since then my role has quite evolved, and now has got a more wider scope than just materials.
Awesome. And so when you first were pursuing the Ricoh job, did you know additive manufacturing was going to be part of your job description, or was that kind of something you got tossed into once you joined?
No, actually, that was on the job description, and originally my role should have been split between the two technical center we got on site, additive manufacturing and inkjet. But in the end, I end up just doing additive manufacturing because there was so much to do at that time that from the beginning was 100%. Additive manufacturing, and really enjoyed the journey so far discovering additive manufacturing. So, and
what drove you, or what kind of persuaded you to go down the material science path?
Yeah, I think it's really the kind of for me was interest first to be able to develop products that can be commercialized, and material are a big part of that. And additive manufacturing, it's also a great place to be a material scientist, because you obviously there are still a lot of requirement to develop develop new material, characterize them, and optimize the parameter for production. And also, additive manufacturing, being a new technology, gives you the opportunity to potentially develop new materials that are not existing for other technology.
Yep. Yeah. And sorry for the cameo of my kids today. It's
no,
crazy.
It's fine. It's I think it's part of this new post-COVID normality we are all living in.
Yeah. And so kind of let's talk about Ricoh for a little bit. So Ricoh, kind of, when I think of them, it's like conventional inkjet printing, right? Kind of like the printing on paper and big printing, kind of 2D. What's Ricoh's kind of position in the 3D printing space? What's kind of the strategy, and how do they think about that as part of the business?
Yeah, I think for Ricoh, moving from the 2D printing, which maybe people still associate Ricoh with the office printer, but it's more than that. We are very, very strong also in the commercial and industrial printing. So commercial printing is printing on paper, but outside the office, and industrial printing is printing on any kind of substrate that is not paper. You can print on all sort of stuff, and moving into 3D printing is we say is a natural evolution of that, because we are targeting mainly in industrial application. And we came on the market in 2016 with an SLS printer. So originally in the polymer space, and now we are also developing our binder jetting technology for printing metal parts. And we really believe that additive manufacturing is not just a technology for the future, a manufacturing technology for the future. Is already a technology that is established in the present for going beyond prototyping. We really believe that 3D printing is one of the technology for the future for serial production, and this is where we want to play. We are a manufacturer ourselves, so we have been manufacturing product for more than 18 years, and we really think that 3D printing is an additional manufacturing tool for the present, and also for the future to produce products.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where Ricoh as a company, there's so many things I imagine you guys already do as an organization in the 2D printing world that have like that translate over to 3D printing, right? There's the inkjet heads, your materials knowledge that you have to take, you can take from some of the powder systems. I mean, even combining all that with binder jet, right? Like it kind
exactly.
of all comes together.
I think we see binder jetting and developing this technology in-house. It's really using some of the strength of Ricoh. As you said, the inkjet head are part of our core business, so we know that very well. We were able to formulate ink, so also formulating binder is something we have the skills and the knowledge, and obviously combining the binder with the printing head, it's part of our know-how. Maybe something people are not aware is also Ricoh has got a very good expertise in vision system. For example, to include we own Pentax, which is very known for the cameras, but we are developing a range of vision technology to be used, for example, in the automotive industry. And obviously we can use that knowledge in the vision system to include that into the printer, to having a printing monitoring system in situ of the printing. So this is again something we want to develop, and in order to have a more reliable printer. as well.
And so I like following your posts on LinkedIn because you always throw out some cool new materials work that you guys are doing or new partners. And I remember a few years ago at Formnext, I think you were talking a lot about the SLS machine that you had been working on, but you also had some interesting different materials. I think thermostats kind of come to mind. And can you talk about some of the materials work that you also do in conjunction with all the hardware development that you're doing?
Yeah, definitely material is also is part of my original role, and still a big part of what I do at Ricoh. But probably Ricoh is probably well known for the polypropylene. We have been printing polypropylene since the beginning, since 2015, 16, when we launched the material, and it's still a material that our customer really like the performance of the material. Again, not just for prototyping, but we have quite a few applications where we are using the material for serial production.
How do they, just sorry to interrupt, but like how do customers position polypropylene in the context of 3D printing? Like typically they would look at nylon 12 or nylon 11, but how do they position it in their mind of like, what's the difference from a material performance or cost perspective that they see?
I think the main application that we see with polypropylene is when you need the good chemical resistance that you cannot get with nylon. We have the capability of printing parts that are watertight and airtight without any specific post-processing. Obviously, with the Ricoh SLS printer, we can print quite large parts. Again, that's something that it's quite unique to us. And then there is the flexibility. We got a material with quite high elongation of break. It's capable to do very functional and durable part. We can print live hinges that are fully functional, and we actually done some tests as well to characterize the material in terms of fatigue resistance. We have worked with a company, an engineering company in France called Mecastyle, and together we have characterized the material in terms of fatigue resistance. We know the material can withstand up to 1 million cycles in fatigue test. So it's quite impressive. I'm always found fun when you go to an exhibition. You got people taking the parts in their hand and ask, "Can I bend it? Will it not break?" Yeah, go for it. The material is quite resistant. So it's people still need to be, I think, sometimes educated about the capability of the material available for 3D printing. And then, as you said, we have also worked closely with Tiger Coatings, which is an Austrian-based company, to develop a range of thermoset materials. And these are more driven to probably the need of having more high performance material available for the application. In particular, we have been working on a flame retardant grade, and which combine also with the properties of thermoset materials, which are slightly different from thermoplastic. They have a higher chemical resistance. They have a higher stability, dimensional stability, high temperature. They can be processed at relatively low temperatures, so can speed up the printing process. So that's an exciting development. And again, we are using an open parameter system, so we have that flexibility to test new material, try new things, but this is what we like to do.
Sure. And so one of the challenges I've seen in the industry, I'd love to get your thoughts on this, is there's this dichotomy between closed systems that like a vendor will give you like, hey, this is how you run polypropylene or nylon or aluminum and it'll work consistently. The customer like can start going, versus the open parameter model where there's hundreds, if not thousands, of knobs that you could potentially turn on any given part in a build. For me, kind of coming from some of the software work and designing kind of digital tracking and traceability of parts and the process, how do you balance that? And I found like it's just really challenging. It really depends on the customer in terms of how knowledgeable about the technology they are, and are they running it? Are you running it for them? And how do you kind of get to that end part in a consistent way?
Yeah, but I think for me there is space for both type of system, and actually, in our production facility we got both type of system, because we are running a multi-jet fusion, or we also have a Stratasys FDM printer. They are closed system, and they're really good system. I would say they're reliable, and we can print parts. But we also like having the flexibility of having an open parameter system, where if you got a customer project where you need a material that you don't have in house, obviously we have the ability from an hardware point of view to qualify new material. And I think that probably the challenge with that is that you need to have the right skills in-house, because operating an open parameter system is everyone, I would say. You need to have a good understanding on how modifying the printing parameters will affect the stability of the printer, the printing. The mechanical properties of the parts you print. Obviously, we have learned that with our system, which has been open parameter from the beginning, and so our team of engineers, they've got the skills and the knowledge to operate those kind of system.
Does that give you an advantage as part of what you do as well as almost like a sort of a service bureau, or kind of more like contract manufacturing in some ways, that you have all these capabilities? Does that help kind of open the subset of, or open the types of customers that you might be able to go and work with, and say, hey, a customer comes to you, is like, hey, we've got this problem, and here's how we're trying to circumvent some supply chain issues, or we need a material that does X. Does that help in terms of like having all this experience in parameter development, and we can get close?
Yeah, we definitely, we had some projects that we have been running, or we are running at the moment, where we are testing new materials, because the customer need very, very specific properties in the material, something we don't have in our standard portfolio. So we qualify materials, and sort of, yes, we are as you said, let's call it a service bureau, but we really want to be flexible and really be able to work according to the requirements of our customers. So if we can add value and the business potential is there, we will customer qualify new materials. And obviously during the years I've also built up a network with the different material manufacturers, so we can also rely on them in terms of material sourcing, and working with them if there is anything that needs to be done in terms of material formulation. I think it's working with the ecosystem, and we adding value by providing those kind of expertise to really qualify new materials on our printers.
Yeah, and it's a unique space in the industry where, like, typically when you think of service bureaus, and I don't mean to kind of put you guys in that bucket, because I think you guys do like something slightly different, but most service bureaus, like, you send a model off and like you might have one back and forth emails like, hey, this doesn't fit, or change this tolerance and we'll be okay. But there's not a lot of materials development. Most of those are closed systems. That ability to really modify, almost do R&D is something that I think the industry is kind of missing, right? Like there's, if I'm a company exploring the technology, I've got a couple options, right? I can use the existing subset of materials and go find a service bureau. I can go to the vendor of some of these technologies and get some demo parts. But if I want to do kind of an earlier technology readiness kind of assessment or feasibility, it's not an obvious track to go down, especially with you guys. You can do some of the mechanical testing or fatigue testing like you had and quantify that, which I think is pretty unique.
Yeah. And also, looking at, serial production on another thing that is also important is the certification on those materials. And we are also keen to support on that. We had a customer a few years ago. We are producing a device that is called a rotary atomizer with our polypropylene. So it's a device that is in contact with water. So the water then is recirculated and put back into the drinking water system. So the customer wanted some sort of confidence that the material was safe to use in that specific application. So we have supported them and gathered the certification called it's a UK certification called the RAS approval, which gives the customer the sort of the peace of mind that the material and the device will perform and accordingly to the regulation. So this is another aspect we can help our customer. Is not just qualifying the material, but if they need any certification, we are very much keen to support them on that front as well.
And in your kind of time at Ricoh, how have you seen the types of customers or types of conversations that you're having with customers evolve? Is it very much kind of, has there been any major movement in terms of how knowledgeable customers are about what they're asking, or are there different trends that you're seeing from where you're sitting?
Yeah, I think it all, we have a very wide spectrum of customer. We've got customers that are probably more advanced in their journey with additive manufacturing. I would say this are the type of customer that are already using or consider to use additive manufacturing for serial production, and then you got customers that are probably more, I would say, not on the early stage, but they are still learning more about additive manufacturing. So I think it's down to help them understanding what are the benefit, but also the limitation of the technology. And one of the advantages of 3D printing that you can try things. You don't have to invest in a mold tool or setting up a CNC machine or whatever. You print, you try, and then you reiterate your design until you get the right one. So I think it's also obviously giving the advice in terms of design and the best material they can use for their application, and then is try and learn. And and then when you bring new technology to the market, it's starting the journey again, because recently we have partnered with Impossible Object. So we are now bringing that technology to Europe. It's a technology that is probably less known in Europe, and again we are getting down to that education process of customers with a new technology.
Yep. Company I know very well, being here in Chicago, and certainly a unique process, right, in terms of how to think about it contextually and how it works. And like you said, it's kind of educating the customer of like, what are the different material subsets, and there's a paper substrate, non-woven substrate involved. And so it's kind of making people think a little bit. Yeah.
And I think the advice they give to customer, if they, they are unsure, it's if you the budget, try it, and I think it's the best way to learn. And even if you made a mistake, at least you learned something, and you can use that that learning to improve on your design, or maybe change the material you want to use, and maybe try a slightly different process. And again, coming back to what we were saying before, having an open parameter system gives you also the possibility to print part with different parameter and see how they perform in the end user application. So that's another sort of kind of flexibility you got when you got an open parameter system. Is not only you can play on the part orientation, you can also play on the printing parameters.
So do you think that's kind of the biggest motivator for kind of designing your own equipment? Because having been involved with a number of companies who have built printers at large scales or more professional scales, I mean, it's hard, right? You've got software, you've got mechanical systems, you've got materials all in there. And so going after that, I mean, Ricoh has a history of building kind of complex machinery, but was that the openness or open parameter possibility, and you kind of being able to utilize some of that own technology, was that a big motivator in going down that direction? Yeah.
And I think really giving the customer the opportunity to develop the right material and the right parameters for their application, because every application is different. So having that flexibility, I think it's we are talking a lot about 3D printing being a technology well suited for customization. Mm-hmm. Customization can also be in the parameter you use to print your parts, and maybe different application will need a different parameter set to work. So I think it's really giving the customer the opportunity to optimize the process for their needs. I think that's really a big motivator for us to come to the market.
And I imagine too, I mean, Ricoh itself has it's $1 billion multinational company. You already have a lot of networks and manufacturing and even stuff that you're building now that also helps. And you've got almost a built-in supply or sales chain, or kind of sales channel is probably the better word.
Yeah.
Then. So it's
definitely.
So as you've got all these different kind of technology kind of platforms kind of coming online, like what are some industries that you see over and over are kind of moving into that direction where like they really get 3D printing, they understand it, they're kind of looking to scale into that production or customized parameter set? Do you see any trends? I mean, like everyone goes to like aerospace and medical, but is there anything new that you're seeing from where you're sitting?
Yeah, I would say no. Again, I think really from our current experience, definitely medical, mm-hmm. automotive are definitely a big user of additive manufacturing. I would say across the spectrum of the different industry vertical at different level, you have, I think now all different sectors are getting used to using more and more 3D printing as a technology. Maybe in some case more for prototyping, in other cases, as I said, is to using it for serial production. And if you also look in the news, you can see application, for so many different things. Sometimes it's totally unexpected, the kind of way people using 3D printing, and now people are starting using it for construction, for building house, or for space exploration, big rockets. So it's, and now you're also going, onto the small side. You have this printer that are able to print those very, very tiny object, maybe for electronics. So it's really fascinating how the technology is evolving, and how different sectors are, using it to speed up their process, to make new products and go faster to market. I think, tracking really the benefits of the technology.
Yeah. So I've got kind of two last questions, but switching gears a little bit and more talking about kind of to some folks who may be interested about exploring 3D printing and as a career path. So the first one is kind of maybe can you talk through the different types of jobs that you have in your facility, like or what sorts of skill sets, backgrounds that people have in your space, and what sorts of activities or jobs are they doing?
Yeah, so but just to start from myself, but a couple of other colleagues have a role that is very similar to mine. Is really I'm involved in so many different things. So from liaising with the material manufacturer, I'm working really closely as well with the customer directly, providing technical support. I'm working with my colleagues in Japan in R&D to development of new technologies, a bit of, we'll say, business development with impossible object technology that is still relatively new. Then we got production operator that are running the machine day in, day out, and doing the QC on the parts we ship to the customer. They are able to identify potential risk when you have the starting a job, and advise the customer if there is anything they also need to change. Or got people making a build file, we got people testing material either offline or on the printer. So we are very much a team of engineer in our team, and quite versatile. I think you really need quite versatile type of skill set, but definitely material knowledge, process understanding. It's really important, and obviously being able to interfacing with customers from also another things that I particularly like also is customer from different industry and cultural background. It's really interesting.
Cool. And so my last question is kind of what advice would you give someone, maybe a non-engineer kind of looking to come into the 3D printing space, and then an engineer that's looking to come in, that's maybe like yourself, that was new to the industry, kind of just starting out? What any kind of thoughts that you would like to share?
Yeah, I think it's, for me, one of the key aspect is for 3D printing. I think is to be curious. Even if you are not an engineer, but be curious, and because it's an industry that is moving very fast. There is a lot of new technologies, software material being developed nearly on a daily basis. There are also people that are really knowledgeable in the industry. So I think curiosity, for me personally, it's really, I'm definitely a curious person. So always keen to sort of stay up to date with the latest trend. Ask people the right question, and there is no stupid question. If you don't know, and maybe someone else will know the answer, and be curious. I think for me, it's curiosity. It's a big driver, at least for me, and probably the sort of the suggestion that I will give to anyone new to the industry. Talk with people, read, and there are a lot of events as well, webinar, where you can learn a lot about the technology.
Yeah, I think that's excellent advice. I think even regardless of whether it's 3D printing or something else, if you're curious, asking questions, and think that goes along a lot of way in whatever career path you choose.
Yes, definitely.
So Enrico, thank you so much for joining the show today. I mean, maybe one last question, like what are you excited for kind of going into the next few months, into the last part of the year and into 2022? I had to think about that for a second.
Definitely, as I said, at the moment, with definitely the development of our binder jetting technology is something very, very exciting at the moment. It's a really big project for us, and really keen to develop a new application with customers, and also partner with other companies in the ecosystem to bring this technology to market in the coming years. And definitely also the impossible object technology is something very, very exciting for us. This sort of it's a great technology. The materials have great performance, and composite again is a very dynamic area for additive manufacturing. Is a market that is growing very fast. So really playing our role in that market is something really exciting for us. And then keep growing our business. It's still a relatively new business for Ricoh compared to the traditional business. So keep growing, keep developing new things, and be innovative and support our customer with their needs.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining the show today. Look forward to seeing you in person.
Thank you for the invite. Hopefully see you in person in the next few months.
Sounds great. Thanks, Enrico.
Thank you.